Hey y'all, Gina Brown here, and I am very excited to show you about my Canvas course. So, I have taught 8th grade and 7th grade science for 14 years in the classroom, and I'm currently a digital learning coach. I work with Canvas on the back end, I'm an administrator, and I have used Canvas in the classroom pre pandemic and post pandemic. So, let's get started, y'all. Hey y'all, Gina Brown here, and I am excited to show you my 8th grade pre AP science course. I'm going to particularly show you two units. My first unit is the theory of continental drift, and that goes through continental drift, plate tectonics, topographic maps. And then the next unit that I'm going to show you is going to be my space unit. And my exploring space unit is going to cover things like seasons, moon phases, and tides. So I organize my modules by weeks because that is when I see the kids, I see them daily. And then each module has whatever days we meet for during that week. I typically put the day of the week and the month and date, and then I indent based off of the activities. So let me quickly show you my first week of this theory of continental drift unit. I always like to start off my units with essential questions. These are district-based essential questions that we all follow, and I like to unpack these essential questions at the start of the unit in order to ensure that all students meet with success and are able to measure whether or not they learned the content. We have a digital journal as well as an analog journal, so that way we can address all students' needs. We started off discussing Alfred Wegener. I always love to incorporate digital media whenever possible. And then we had some synchronous learning to start. So synchronous learning was together. We had a chat after we watched this video. I gave them 5 minutes to complete a free write in their student workbook. And as always, I wanted them to use complete sentences. Followed by that, we had a blended classroom. So then we did some asynchronous learning. After they took 5 minutes to do their free write, they took some quizzes on Quizlet. And then they were prepared to share their ideas in the online chat for the get-together at the end of class. I typically have them submit a picture into their digital journal. And if they wanted some more practice, they could try out some more Quizlet matching games while they were waiting for me. And notice how those were embedded into the learning management system. Following that asynchronous learning, I wanted them to come back together for the chat. So they had a few questions addressing different depths of knowledge. How do you think continental drift happens? Alfred Wegener knew it all except why or how it occurred. So I wanted them to respond to that. And notice how, as I said, that addresses different depths of knowledge. I love to let the kiddos know when they are done for the day, so that way they are 100% certain that they completed all of the assignments for that day. Moving on to the next part of the 5E was the explore. I like to start with the engage, and following the engage, we do an explore activity. They're going to finish the rest of the video we watched yesterday. This will tie yesterday's class to today's class and allow them to reply to 2 posts from yesterday's discussion. Continuing with the explore, they're going to read Alfred Wegener's story below and annotate and text code. This is our school's annotation markup guide. And notice how I embed different forms of media. I have a Google Doc embedded with Alfred Wegener's story so they can digitally annotate and text code. They also have their analog journals as well. And I also inserted a JPEG. I'm taking advantage of the use of tables and colors as well as emojis. Continuing with the explore, I want the students to choose 2 links below and complete page 5 of their journal. Another feature I like to use is buttons. I create these on Google Drawings and then I insert them, giving students the option to pick or choose their own adventure. Providing student choice allows for student agency, and giving them a choice makes them more invested in their learning. Taking advantage of the assignments feature and telling the students that they can pick one interesting topic to share about. They're going to submit their 2 paragraphs as a text entry below. I love to take advantage of the different submission types, whether that be using Google assignments, text entry, or inserting a picture entry. Continuing on to Wednesday, the students will complete a Wegener's Puzzling Continents activity. I embedded the Google Doc with the instructions for the lab and also included a key or legend for the Puzzling Continents activity. Here are the student instructions, and here is how I would like them to submit that assignment. Continuing on with the synchronous activity, there will be a virtual lab. The students will submit the virtual lab when they are done. This virtual lab is a web quest in which the students will explore a website and answer the questions. And the start of this page indicates that they have completed this day's activity. This indicates the start of our new submission process. I had the students create a Google slideshow of their journal from a template that I sent them in Canvas. They will then add their current, most recent assignment to the top of the Google slide deck. They will keep submitting that same journal link each time they have to submit assignments. They will add images of their analog journal or links to whatever assignments they would like to submit. Here is a video of me explaining how that never-ending slideshow or NES works. I also embed the Safari montage version just in case our YouTube filters block the video. Here is another asynchronous assignment in which I embedded a Safari montage video. I am now taking advantage of the Canvas Studio quiz video option, in which I upload a video into Canvas Studio, and I do something similar to how Edpuzzle had done it previously. That way I can keep everything in Canvas and using the Canvas features. Here's a to-do list that I posted on the board. And one thing I love about Canvas is I am able to embed documents that I already have created into my learning management system, so that way I'm able to work smart, not hard. And again, I like to indicate when the students have completed that day's work. Moving on to the evaluate portion of the Continental Drift. So this unit is broken into several segments, so I like to evaluate or assess the students after each segment. So here is a video of me reviewing important concepts for Continental Drift. I inserted a slideshow by Kessler Science. This is not a slideshow that I created. So I want the students to review for their test, and then I'm letting them know that the Continental Drift test will be coming up next. Here is a quiz for Continental Drift that the students had to complete. I had it on a Google form. So the module is done. However, I would love to show y'all an example of a quiz that I created. Here is a quiz for the structure of an atom unit. Notice how I have different depths of knowledge. I start with lower order thinking questions, identifying the different parts of an atom, recall questions, and I also love to embed images or videos or even my voice as an audio. Lower order thinking, knowledge questions, and then I start to move up with matching different parts of the atom. They have to choose what definition best matches that term. Matching again, and then some identification. They have to look at the seesaw and determine which particle should be found at Y based off of their knowledge about the mass of each subatomic particle. Here's a higher order thinking question in which the students have to look at the two atoms and use the key, so they have to identify which is protons, neutrons, electrons, relate that to the diagram, and then answer the question about how you can tell that these are different elements. So in order to answer this question, they need to have knowledge about the protons, neutrons, electrons, and they have to have knowledge that the number of protons is the same as the number of electrons, and that is same as the element's atomic number. So even though this question may seem simple, it is definitely a higher order thinking question. Then similarly, so they need to identify the elements based off of the images. And then we are moving on to more higher order thinking questions in which they have to identify the values of the gray boxes. So as stated before, they need to have knowledge of the elements protons, neutrons, electrons, and how those relate. And then they need to look at the element's number of protons and the atomic mass, and they need to know that they have to subtract those two numbers to get the number of neutrons. Similarly, they have to know they have to add the number of protons and neutrons to get the atomic mass. And then I continue with some similar questions addressing those different depths of knowledge. Moving on to the third week of school, or the second week of this unit, I like to start off each sub-unit or subtopic with the essential questions. As I stated before, this ensures that the students will know they are meeting with success and able to determine their growth based upon the essential question. Time to discuss plate boundaries. So I follow the 5E lesson model. I like to start with the engage, and I have the students check out the images below to engage about natural phenomenon. Here I do a hands-on activity in which the students complete a snack Tectonics demo, which is a demonstration with a fruit roll-up, pudding, and graham crackers to demonstrate the different types of boundaries. I do a demonstration video, and then the students follow along in class that are in person, or if they are remote, they are able to follow along remotely. Back for a synchronous lesson in which the students will play the song about plate tectonics and create their own. I gave an example of Twinkle Twinkle Little Stars tune and my plate tectonics song. Here the students will watch a video and then participate in a discussion in which they will tell me what plate tectonics is and how it occurs, and then they will hop back on and reply to two other students' work. Reminder that the quiz for plate tectonics is tomorrow, and their slide submissions are due. A reminder that they are done for the day and their task list. Here the students will elaborate using a Frere model, and they will engage with a vocabulary. They will draw a picture, give a definition, the types of landforms that develop, and then use the vocabulary word in a sentence. And they will complete the Frere model using the major vocabulary terms for this topic of the unit. They will participate in a quiz for this subtopic, and I have a class recording of me reviewing important parts of that topic. An image indicating they are done for the day. Here is the quiz. I also included an embedded video of me reading the quiz aloud for better accessibility for all students. And this is the 5th week of school, 4th week of this unit. The third topic in this unit is topographic maps. I inform the students of their district-based assessment. They start with an asynchronous assignment. They have a choice that they either may complete the explore activity or the read and write, and this is an activity that I borrowed from another educator. Starting the topographic map topic with the essential questions, the learning outcome. and some synchronous work. They will open up the Topographic Map slideshow, and they will answer these questions as a warm-up. I have a getting started activity in which they will record one interesting thing they saw in the slideshow, write a question, and draw a quick sketch. They will then rephrase the essential questions. They will have a ticket to leave in which they will complete a gist statement in their journal. Here they will complete focused notes for topographic maps. This covers the explain section of the 5 E's. They have the essential question, which is the focus for their notes. They have a slideshow that I purchased from Kessler Science that they will use as their mentor text, and they will rephrase the essential questions. Notice how I took a screenshot from our analog journal and embedded that as a JPEG. I also took advantage of the Google Docs feature to embed this from their digital journal. Here is the focus note task. They need to use these vocabulary words and create focus notes using the Cornell note template. I embedded each of the Cornell note templates here. So all they have to do is click on the Google Doc link and it will have a template that they are able to use ready to create their digital notes, or they can use the analog copies in their journals. Wrapping up this explain unit, the students will identify different features of a topographic map using this mentor text. Notice the backpack emoji, which indicates a resource the students will need to keep for later. Students will post discussions based off of these prompts and using their notes. They must then reply to 2 classmates' posts. Here is their ticket to leave and directions to insert them into their digital journal and submit them to Canvas. Here the students will participate in small group discussion using this image as a guide, and they will answer this question in the discussion post. I continue the discussion with each of the slides. Moving on to the next segment of this topic with another essential question. They will start with a synchronous activity and make a copy of the Weathering, Erosion, and Deposition Journal and answer these questions in either their digital or analog journal. Here, the students will participate in a flip grid. This is an asynchronous activity in which they can complete on their own. They will find their own satellite image of a topographic map, and they will answer these following questions based off of which topographic map they choose. I have an example of me doing this assignment to help the students create the best possible product. Here is an interactive study guide in which I used a purchased journal from Kessler Science to have the students engage with each of the topics in the unit to better prepare for their summative assessment. Thank you for walking through my unit of study relating to continental drift, plate tectonics, and topographic maps. Please feel free to check out any of my other areas of study or units within my Grade 8 Pre-AP Science course. This is course number 6536, and you can also search Commons for it as well. The next unit I'm going to show you is my Exploring Space unit. I'm going to go through this unit a bit faster, and I'm not going to go page by page. We start off the first topic discussing rotation, day and night, and revolution, seasons. I love to unpack the learning objectives at the start of each topic. And I love the kids to annotate whenever possible, whether that's digitally or analog. I want them to reply once in the discussion, asking themselves, what have they learned in previous years about space, and what are they looking forward to learning? I want them then to reply to 2 peer posts, find one post that someone remembered something that they also remembered, and add something to their post if they can. And find a post in which someone posted something that they are looking forward to learning about. I like to start by engaging them So we started with celestial motion. They watched this video a few times, and then I wanted them to draw, label, and describe the motions that they observed. They then should use an analogy to describe these celestial movements. This shows different depths of knowledge by first asking them to identify in the drawing and then do a higher order thinking with this analogy. The students then need to participate in a think, pair, share in a partner model. Partner 1 will read the objective, and partner 2 will share what they think that objective means. Partner 1 will then rephrase the objective based off of what partner 2 said, and then they will swap. Then, as a pair, they're going to watch the video and discuss these two questions. Notice how I have synchronous and asynchronous work and a mixture of collaboration versus independent work. They will then read the STEM Scopes text and annotate in text code using the criteria below. They will then also complete this activity with rotation and revolution. The students will watch this short video in which day and night is explained, and they will answer the questions in their journal. We then follow the same rotation with seasons. We start with a seasons engage. Moving on with the engage seasons practice, I love to incorporate movement into my class. I have the students break up into groups of 5, and each of them take the role of one of these 5 students. They will read out their observation of seasons, and then we will have a class discussion. Notice how I'm taking advantage of the discussions feature in Canvas. The students will break up into groups of 5 as said and read the script. Next, they will have 1 minute to determine which person they agree with most. And I note that none of the responses are 100% correct. In the discussion below, they will tell us who they think is most correct without saying why. They will then reply to one other post that they think is incorrect and state why by referencing the script. I provide an example, and then they will do the opposite, reply to one student who they think is correct and explain why. Then there is an Evaluate Seasons quiz, which consists of 15 questions that vary with depths of knowledge. Notice how I'm taking advantage of the embedding JPEGs feature, as well as GIFs, and the students are identifying the seasons, as well as other important questions relating to that topic. The last topic, as mentioned, is tides. Here I have the students take advantage of having some in-person discussion. We follow the similar protocol in which partner A will read the objective aloud, partner B will rephrase that objective, and then partner C will respond with their understanding of what we will be learning or rephrasing the essential question themselves. This unpacking of the essential questions ensures that the students will know what they are supposed to learn. I start with a Tides Engage video, and notice I'm taking advantage of the Canvas Studio video feature in which the students can submit comments. I instruct the students to watch the video and comment on both questions below. Here the students will complete a stations lab in which I purchased from another educator. The students will submit their Explore slides here. Notice how I'm taking advantage of the Google assignment feature. There is a Google slideshow titled Different Types of Tides. And the students will use the shape tool to circle whether it is a spring tide or neap tide. These were images that I took from a worksheet that I previously used, and I wanted to digitalize it by adding it to Google Slides. So the students will take advantage of the shape feature, and they will choose a circle, and they will put whether it is a spring or a neap tide by changing the transparency, and they are even able to change the color of the circle. They will then submit this assignment through Canvas, and it will be graded in SpeedGrader. Then the kids will move on to the explain portion of the 5E model, and they will participate in a gizmo. We subscribe and have a membership to Gizmo so they can access it from ClassLink. It is a digital simulation of tides, and the students will then complete this. Following the explain portion of the 5E model is the elaborate. Here the students will create a one-pager explaining the difference between a spring and neap tide. They must include diagrams and answer these questions as well. They may also do a digital one-pager using Google Doc, Canva, or Google Drawings. They need to comment on this video after watching it with one fun fact. If they did a digital version of the one-pager, here is a place for them to submit that. Wrapping up this unit of study, the students will participate in 2 activities in which they will analyze a month of tides. There was a study session for the quiz the following day. The last step of the 5E model is evaluate. And for this evaluation or assessment, the students will complete a quick quiz on tides. Quickly go through the 5 questions, varying in different depths of knowledge. Here is a lower order thinking question, followed by another lower order thinking question. Here they will use the diagram below, which increases in depth, and the students will explain what 2 types of tides or what type of tides will happen. Here they will have to match the correct moon to the correct type of tide. This is a higher order thinking question, which varies depth of knowledge, because the students not only need to know the difference between a spring and neap tide, they also need to know the different phases of the moon. So based off of the sun being right here, this would indicate a new moon, and they would need to know that the moon revolves counterclockwise around the sun. So that would have to indicate that this would be a first quarter moon. Following the full moon is the third quarter moon. So this question 4, although it seems simple, is a very high order thinking question. Then, answering this question, the changing of tides from high to low happens every how many hours? Students will submit that quiz, and that will be the wrap up for that portion of the unit of study. The students will have to complete a formative district-based assessment on those 3 topics within that unit. Thank you so much for walking through my Exploring Space unit.